What is up, guys? The wait is finally over. I know I've been talking about it for months, but we are finally headed up to Laguna Seca with the Yaris for round 4 of the TRD series. So let's get the Yaris loaded up on a trailer.
Laguna Seca is about 250 miles from me, and while the Yaris is still road legal, towing it is going to be a lot more comfortable.
So, the Yaris is all loaded up and ready to go. Lucky that we've pulled as much weight as possible out of the Yaris because this truck is only able to pull 3,500 pounds, and the tow hitch is only rated for 3,500 pounds, but the Yaris is 2,000 pounds, so we're fine. Except we're not fine because it's the manual that can tow 3,500 pounds, not the automatic, which can only tow about 2,000 pounds. Well, that's okay, right? Because the Yaris is 2,000 pounds, so we're good. And the 500-pound trailer doesn't really come into it at all. We'll be fine. We'll be fine.
Okay, so off to Laguna Seca. First time towing with this truck. First time towing ever. Any advice? Weathertech Raceway, Laguna Seca, formerly Mazda Raceway, Laguna Seca, formerly just Laguna Seca. Sure. Hopefully. So, this is the paddock, and I think I already see some other TRD series members here. Hey, you guys got space here? Now that we'd finally made it to the track, it's time to unload the Yaris, put on the brand new wheels and tires, and then head to the hotel for a good night's rest. The next morning, the paddock was much more full. I got a chance to set up next to some other members of the TRD series, and it's always fun to see what cars show up for this because they're always much, much, much more powerful than the little guy that I have. Setting up with people in different run groups is great because it means there's always someone around to watch our stuff because we'll all be out on the track at different times.
But we might be a little delayed because the Monterey area fog is rolling in on the track.
But eventually, it's clear for me to go out for my very first run. It didn't take long for me to feel the difference with the new tires. This new setup has so much grip that I found myself constantly trying to find the limit, and I could really chase down cars when I was in the turns. Now, a track day like this operates on a point-buy system. The idea is when a car that's faster than you comes up behind, you point them by so that they can go ahead and set a lap ahead of you. I am no stranger to giving point buys because my car is usually very slow on the straights. The trouble is that if a car that is fast in the turns has to get a point buy from something that's fast in the straights, people tend to ignore it. Giving proper point buys when there are multiple cars behind you is very important, because if you don't do it right, things can get a little dicey. But honestly, no one wants to point by a Yaris. I understand that, and I honestly do feel bad for anyone that does point by a Yaris, because if you try and let a Yaris go by on the straights, you need to back off a lot for me to be able to get by. So with a big mismatch in horsepower and experience in this class, no one was really able to get a clean session. But I am thankful for the people who were giving point bys, because once you give someone a point by, it means that we both have clear track and we can both go set our fastest laps.
So, first session is done. Good news, bad news. Good news is the Yaris feels amazing. Those tires are insane. The amount of grip this little guy has is unreal. Bad news is, because this is not an event where we have enough members in the TRD series to have our own run group, the experience level matches mine a lot more, and I'm used to running with people who have more experience and taught me a lot of track discipline, or at least more track discipline than I saw in this group, which meant that point bys were few and far between, and I really couldn't get a clean lap in. So a 2:03 is where I'm at, but there's a lot more in this car. Sub 2 for sure today.
But complaining about traffic seems like such a minor issue now. I was at Laguna Seca. I was there with so many cool cars. This is such an awesome opportunity, and I'm so happy to have been able to do it with friends. But not every car that came to Laguna Seca was so lucky. This is a Hyundai Veloster N that had crashed the previous day on the corkscrew. And the worst part is that this was not the only car to crash. Just a few sessions in, we saw this E36 M3 hit the wall as well. This is a very real reminder of how dangerous what we're doing can be. But that's not going to stop me today.
You're up, Joey.
With session 2 underway, I was really getting a sense for what this car could do on this track. Where I needed to brake, where I didn't need to brake, what gear I needed to be in each corner, and how hard I could really push this thing. Overall, track discipline was getting better, but there were a few close calls. If you're doing a track day and you find yourself stuck in traffic, it's worth it to go into the pits for a second and let them give you some clear track. Then you can go out with no one behind you or ahead of you and really put down a good lap. Just make sure that you don't get too greedy when you finally get the chance. So I had spun in turn 9, one of the hardest corners on the track, and after seeing what had happened to other cars, I knew how lucky I had gotten. In the downtime between sessions, it's important to evaluate what happened while you were on track, and evaluate what is going on with your car. Make sure it's running, make sure everything is in tip-top shape, and make sure it's still predictable. At the very least, you should be torquing down your lug nuts after every session and maybe rotating tires to make sure that your tires wear evenly and you don't end up with a bunch of understeer like I did on my last set of tires. Now I was ready to go out for one more session. On the first few laps, I made sure to let faster cars get by in an effort to find some clear track. I was checking my braking points, checking my landmarks, making sure that the car was performing the way I expected it to so that I could set up for one solid run at a fastest lap. When you're on a flying lap, the absolute worst thing you could see is a yellow flag. But I guarantee you, it's worse for the person who caused the yellow flag.
Oh boy, S2000 spun, hit the wall. That sucks. That really sucks. That was one more car in the wall. Ended our final session early. S2000 went off at turn 4, and it looks like they understeered out into the gravel, tried to correct, came across the track, which luckily no one was right behind them, and then hit the wall on the other side. It's a treacherous track. It's a treacherous track. The tires are honestly probably saving me a little bit. The fact that my car has more grip than power is probably saving me a little bit from learning some of these hard lessons. Yeah, I mean, maybe I'm gonna start looking into Hans device, cage, that kind of thing.
But without further ado, we're gonna get right into it. We didn't have any enthusiasts today, it looks like.
You should have one enthusiast.
Well,
He's a winner.
if you're the only one, then good job, Joey. You win.
Yeah!
Give him the first place.
Give him the first place. There you go. Sub 2, that's pretty good. With like all 80 horsepower
Yeah,
and being blocked all day because no one wanted to let a Yaris by.
that
It's
didn't
true,
even
don't worry, I know. I saw.
At the end of the day, only a small contingent of the TRD series made it up to Laguna Seca, but that made sharing the experience with them all the better. This little Yaris started its life as a family car, and I'm so excited to see that it's found a new family in the TRD series. The next round of the TRD series is at Streets of Willow, and the Yaris is a much different car from the last time it went there. So we'll see how much has changed next time.